Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome in. This is JE Live, and it's been a minute. I've taken a lot of time off, I guess. I mean, I still work because I did the two podcasts, but I've taken some time off, and I needed it. Obviously, I'm just going to go live. We had the Rams game. Rams played on Christmas, and they won 51-14, and I got to tell you, that was very satisfying, very satisfying. I could not have told you that would have happened. I think anybody that tells you that they thought the Rams' anemic offense in 2022 would score 51 points. Obviously, they didn't score 51, but score that many points. This Rams team in general scoring 51 points, clearly you need to check and see if they have a DeLorean and they're from the future, because that was crazy. So we got a lot to talk about, and that's a good thing, because normally when your team is 5-10, yes, you can cheer. 5-10, it's good. 2 wins away from being 7-10. And that is not a bad way to close out a season where you had injury after injury after injury, right? Nothing seemed to go their way, and yet we're talking about a potential 7-10 team here. I'll take it. Way to show out for the home fans that went to this game at home. Show out for the people that watch this at home. This is exactly what every Rams fan deserved to watch. You saw great things all the way from, across the offensive line. I thought the offensive line played one of their best games all season long, especially in the run game. You talk about, getting lanes open for Cam Akers, Kyren Williams, and Malcolm Brown. Baker Mayfield did a stellar job. I thought it's one of the best performances I think I've seen out of a Rams quarterback. He didn't have to do a ton. But when they asked him to do something, he, made his presence known. I don't know if he'll be back next year, but we're not going to get into that, right? We're going to be talking about right now, and we'll talk a little bit about the future, but we'll keep it positive here. Receivers. Love the game plan the Broncos came out with. Would have worked if the Rams were the same offense and calling the same plays that they always seem to do, right? But they didn't. They actually made adjustments. See, the Broncos' plan of attack was, hey, we like Van Jefferson. We like Tutu Atwell. Why don't we take him completely out of the game? And that's what they wanted to do. So it really forced Tyler Higbee and Bryson Hopkins and other guys to step up. And really, the game ball has to go to Cam Akers, because you guys know I've been incredibly critical of him, and no, I do not hate him, okay? So let me just make that very clear. Just because I was critical, just because I said I wasn't his biggest fan anymore, because I felt like he was missing something, I didn't feel like he's coming off a major injury. I just didn't see that Cam that we saw in the playoffs. I started to see that Cam today. And I love Kyren Williams. I really do like the idea of, getting him involved, but hard to justify taking the ball out of Cam Akers' hands when he's doing what he's doing. 3 touchdowns. I mean, it was a day for him. And it wasn't just the offensive line, which I got to give him props. They were great, running the ball. But Cam really looked like his old self, or at least it was coming back. Saw some quick decisions, saw the burst, saw the, making a man miss, getting him out in space. The only issue I had with this game is the fact that all of this stuff is what I'm pointing at myself, we've all been talking about them mixing up the offense, not abandoning the run, running the damn ball. And look what happened. If they ran the ball like this season would be completely different, okay? For a team that has been in every single game by at least one possession, every single game in the fourth quarter, that you have to imagine if they were able to run the ball better, it'd be a different type of season. So that was the one complaint I had. If I had to put one out there, that was a complaint of mine. So let's get into it here, because I have some people that are commenting and using super chat. So I got to say, first off, thank you so much for your donation to the channel. Really do appreciate that. Tyler, it's a Christmas miracle. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you so much for donating, Tyler. Yes, it really is. I could not see ever this season. Last year, okay. This season, no. I could not see this season a Rams team scoring 51. No, I could not. This team averages, 16 a game? I don't think anybody saw this coming. I should probably make a YouTube short making fun of the under bettors, because the over-under for this game, I'm going to look it up now. I'm pretty sure it was, it was 36. The Rams almost outdid that in the first half. Actually, it was 36. That was done at the half. So at the end of the half, the under was hit. I mean, to go into there with hardly any expectations that they would score, that's got to be funny. What's up, Gammon? Thank you so much for donating. Better last ditch quarterback fill-in, Baker or Purdy? Feel like they're kind of similar, right? I mean, I think they're both doing great things. The only thing I would say is I think Purdy is in a better situation, but he's a rookie. So I think you kind of have those two things add up, which I think is pretty good for him. You got to give credit where credit's due, right? And so, I think it's definitely, something cool there. I like seeing these guys succeed. I like seeing guys like Baker. I like seeing, I don't like the Niners, but I like seeing Purdy and guys like that succeed. I like seeing Gardner Minshew. I mean, I thought Gardner Minshew played a hell of a game for the Eagles and should have won that game. That was not his fault. There's some guys that failed to step up. But yeah, I definitely think, that there's been some really good fill-ins this year, and Baker Mayfield is playing himself into a contract, and it might not be with the Rams. So we got to get ready for that, because that is a very big possibility. He's going to be starting somewhere next year. That's not the Rams, because obviously, Stafford's coming back. Wildman Samurai, thank you so much for donating. Rams must sign Baker for a multi-year contract. We need him for depth at the quarterback position. Thoughts, Jake? So I do not know if I would say must. I really like Baker, and I want him to stay. But one thing I will say is that I think Sean McVay does so well with quarterbacks that I think if they were to get a Minshew, or they were to get, a Brissett in here, I mean, even I think Rippon would be solid on the Rams. I mean, I like Perkins too. I'm not out on him. So I don't know. I don't think that they're going to give him the money that he wants, and they're not going to give him the opportunity he needs, because I think right now Baker feels like he needs to start, and I feel like he's looking at a potential no-win situation where he stays and thinks, okay, maybe I could take over, but now all of a sudden, Stafford ends up playing throughout his whole career. And right now, I mean, you have to wonder, it was a scare for Stafford, sure, but I mean, if he's not going to retire, then there's a chance. I don't think this team is anywhere close to done. I've said before, I don't think their window has been closed. And I think this team is finishing the right way, where as long as they build off this game and they win one of the next two, or even if they lose both and they play them tough, I think 2 wins would be huge. They can build off that, and they're finding these guys we talked about. You find a guy like Michael Hoyt, who's already on the roster, but now he's becoming a key contributor. You have a guy like that. You find Laurel Murchison off of waivers, so another person's trash becomes another person's treasure, and that's something the Rams have made, some big time. They've had progress with. I mean, you look at Murchison, Matt Gay is another guy that was cut by the Bucks. You look at Brandon Powell, who went through, different teams, and they've had guys in the past like Marquis Christian. Again, they make the most out of these guys. And so, I do think that it's been a challenging year. It's been a tough year, but if the Rams can bounce back from this, not let this kill them, which it doesn't look like they're going to, because they're still playing as hard as ever, then I got news for you. They are going to take the good of this season, leave the bad in the rearview mirror, and be a better team next year. What if I told you, and I actually was just talking to my father about this, what if I told you that this was the most complete game the last 2 years that we've seen from a Rams team? This was a better win than any Rams win last year. You can say it's not, that's fine, but it was. It was an all three phases win. And this was a team that complemented each other. You talk about playing complementary football, not getting a huge turnover and then the offense failing to score points. The offense scored points every time. The offense did not lead. There was not one punt in this game. Okay, the Rams did everything they needed to do. That's why this game was 17-3 at the end of the first, and it ended up being 31-6 at half. And they finished scoring 20 points in the second half and only giving up 8 points on the defensive side. Hats off to this team. They fought so hard, even when they were clearly going to win. Sean McVay didn't take his foot off the gas pedal until that last Cam Akers touchdown. When they scored that touchdown, 41-6, you got 8 minutes to go? You get the ball back? Yeah, I'm thinking you're pretty good. And he decided to take out his starters, and he took the foot off the gas a little bit, and I have no issue with that. But you did not want a Minnesota Vikings Indianapolis Colts game where, you dominate them the whole game, and then all of a sudden the Broncos become the Vikings and they come back, and Russell Wilson's won so many games. So you didn't want anything like that, and that's something the Rams avoided. And I respect it. I respect the way the game was called. I respect that they actually tried to win the ball game. I respect that they actually put their best foot forward. And despite being a 4-10 team going into this game, despite coming off a awful loss on Monday night to get basically eliminated from playoff contention, they came out strong. And this was the most dominant win of the week. Who would have thought? Not me. So, got to give him credit there. Finally, the Rams running 2 tight ends. Yes. I don't know why it took him so long. You guys know I'm a big fan of Bryson Hopkins. I don't know what they were doing with him. He looked really good today, and love seeing him get involved. Love seeing Higbee get involved. Higbee looked like the Higbee that we saw at the beginning of the year. Really good stuff out of him. He should be very happy with his performance, and the Rams should feel good because they got a lot of money tied up into him. And, you run it back next year with the same type of guys, you add a little bit more, obviously you're not going to be able to bring everybody back. And they got a good enough roster with now a last place or second to last place schedule where they can make some, really make a run and do some damage next year. And I believe that's what they will do. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's been a tough year, but I'm not talking out of my ass when I say this team can go back to the Super Bowl next year. Okay. It's not one of those things where this was a bad year. This is what they are. They're not going to come back from this. They have a lot to do. This isn't what they are. They've been really injured, and they've won these games, and they've stayed tough. And you hear injuries are all over the league, and I get it, whatever. Not like this. Not like this. So the offensive line has been bruised, battered, and whatever, and quarterback, and Kupp's out, and Donald's out, and they continue to just push forward, and that's what I love about this team. Oh, man. Jimmy G going to be a free agent next year. I believe so. Oh, he looked awesome. 2.5 sacks. For whatever reason, the box score is not showing up on my iPad, so I don't know what's going on there. I'll try to get it up. Maybe the app's just down. Not really sure what's going on. But, Laurel Murchison had 2.5 sacks the last time I checked, and he looked great, man. So Murchison is a guy I actually have some knowledge about, because Murchison was there when I went to the Senior Bowl. I went 3 years in a row. I went to the Senior Bowl the year it was him, and it was Neville Gallimore. And they did some one-on-ones or 1v1s with the offensive line, and Murchison had this really quick step, right off the ball. There was no hesitation, and I saw that in this game. I mean, they said right before the game he switched his number from 69 to 52, and he took Terrell Lewis's number, and I mean, he made the most of it. 2.5 sacks, not bad for your Rams debut. He was a tone setter in the middle. I can't wait to look at the numbers, go through the pressures and all of that. I won't have them until tomorrow. But man, Murchison looked really, really good. And that's all you can ask for when you get a guy off waivers like that and he's balling out on that level. That's huge. You know, Laurel is a guy, now that you have him, you see the way he played, they're going to hang on to him. He's going to get an opportunity to try to make the roster next year and, battle in camp. And I'm excited because now he's got that coaching. I trust the Rams coaching in the defensive line room. I mean, just look at what, Henderson's done. I mean, just look at guys like Jonah Williams. Look at guys like Michael Hoyt. I'm excited for Michael Hoyt because Michael Hoyt is 310 pounds and he's going to be losing, probably going down to 270, 275, and he's going to play outside linebacker full time. Very excited about his maturation process. And, I really think that there's a lot of good that's going to come out of this season that, the pessimist side of a fan might not care about right now. But next year when, Hoyt is playing big snaps and he's coming through and you see Jacoby Durant, who's building off the year he's having, the end of the year he's having. And, you look at, guys like Laurel Murchison coming in a rotation basis. I mean, I'm just saying it's going to catch up. And I know this seems like a consolation prize, right? It's hard. You're watching, Niners fans are celebrating a potential Super Bowl this year. They got a great team and they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And right now it seems like, okay, Jake, you're being a little too optimistic. It's a consolation prize and all that. But I disagree because, I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to build sustained success. You're trying to win consistently. And I think the best way to do that is obviously you got to keep evaluating your talent. And that's what they're doing right now. They're evaluating what they have. They're developing what they have. They tried them picks, and I think it does work. But now, I think right now, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of them. The Packers game left me a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth because I don't think the Packers were that good. I thought they should have beaten them. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing, and I think it's going to pay dividends down the road. And so I absolutely think even if this team had a first-place schedule next year, as long as they stay healthy, they'll absolutely be in the conversation. But now you're talking about a third place. And, I mean, all you need to talk about, the Broncos and the Rams going into this game were both 4-10. Broncos had a great defense. The Rams had a good defense. Neither had an offense. Like, historically bad offenses. And one team just ran the other one out of the building. That one team played the toughest schedule, and the other team played a last place schedule, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was last place. The Broncos had a last place schedule, and they couldn't do anything with it. They're 4-11, staring 4-13 in the face with a last place schedule. So you can say it's not a big deal. I do think it is a big deal. And I think next year will be really good for the Rams. And we've seen teams like the Steelers and the Patriots who won the Super Bowl, lost, they didn't make the playoffs and then went back not long after. There's no reason why the Rams can't be like that. So, I would say that's something to keep in mind. This is not, obviously the season's almost over. It is the season is over based on the fact that you always do want to win, the Super Bowl. That's not happening in LA this year. No reason why it can't happen next year. Look at the Jaguars. Jaguars have a chance. They control their own destiny. They have a chance to win the division. If Tampa loses tonight, the Panthers are first in their division. Those divisions are terrible, and it's another reason why they need to get rid of automatic division hosting berths, whatever you want to call it, in the playoffs. They have to. But the point is that this league has parity. It's not the same thing. It's not, there's a salary cap. It's not like you can just spend the most money and get to, the semifinals every year. Like this league has a lot of parity. We've seen worst go to first. Look at the Bengals, what they did last year. And then they started to struggle. They started off the season 0-3. And now here they are. They have a chance to, be a big time player in the playoffs. I mean, that's the thing. Is there's so much parity you can never count a team out. Look at the Jets this year. I mean, I told you guys I had a feeling that they would be competitive. I had them barely missing the playoffs in 9-8. Looks like they might barely miss the playoffs in 9-8. You know, this is a league where you never know. And I mean, I was really high on the Vikings, but I don't feel like they're as good as I thought they would be, even though the record says otherwise. But who knows, man? Who knows? The Vikings could win it all. The Niners could win it all. The Cowboys can win. The Eagles, we don't know. We have no idea how it's going to go. You know, I mean, we have an idea. Like, I don't think Washington is going to win it. I don't think the Giants are going to win it. You know, but it's one of those things, man, where you can't just, well, the Rams were bad this year and this is the beginning of the end. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not the beginning of the end. If it was the beginning of the end, and I've said this now multiple weeks in a row, this Rams team would not be playing as hard as they're playing. They wouldn't be winning games 51-14. They wouldn't be fighting tooth and nail, to beat a Raiders team down 16-3. They would have mailed it in. Okay. That's the thing. So no, I don't agree with the idea that, this team is done. I don't think they're done. RV Hopper, thank you so much for donating. Poor season for sure, but today was an awesome feeling in the gut. Fantastic Christmas for us. Did we win 55-0 in 2014? Not sure. Same feeling. I think it was 52-0 against the Raiders. Trey Mason, Zach Stacy had a day. Sean Hill didn't really have to do much of anything. Just everything came to him. They got plays on the defensive side of the ball. Tremaine Johnson, that was the game where he held up the 52-0 sign afterwards when they went to the Raiders. I think it was a preseason game, and he held it up on the sidelines. That was funny. But yeah, it felt like kind of a similar game, right? Anyway, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. I think looking at going into next year, you got Stafford. I'm sorry. I've watched Derek Carr. I've watched Kenny Pickett. I've watched Zach Wilson. I've watched all these quarterbacks this weekend. Dak Prescott. I don't think there are many quarterbacks in this league that are better than Matthew Stafford when he's fully healthy. Like, Matthew Stafford is seriously a top 5 quarterback in football, and I do believe that. And when he comes back next year and he's healthy and he's got weapons who are also healthy and the offensive line's healthy, he's going to be back to proving people wrong. But I'm tired of hearing, well, Stafford's in that Carr, Cousins tier. No, he ain't. If Matthew Stafford was on the Minnesota Vikings, I'd guarantee you a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford would win a Super Bowl for the Vikings. I don't know with Cousins. Doesn't mean they can't win. The Vikings could absolutely win the Super Bowl. They're 11-0 in one possession games. Because that's great coaching, because KOC knows how to freaking coach. But I don't know how to feel about Kirk Cousins. He's the stats guy. He's got great stats. His quarterback rating's great. And I've backed him. But I feel like this year, more than ever, I'm really starting to see Kirk Cousins is good. He's never going to be great, and he's never going to be elite. Stafford flirts with elite. He really does. And I watch, same thing with, and I don't mean to hate, I really don't. But can you imagine the Lions this year with Matthew Stafford? I'm just saying. I think Goff's played well because he's in a good situation. Stafford would be great for them. They don't have him, obviously, because of the trade. But, I mean, Stafford on the Jets. The Jets would literally have 11-12 wins right now if they had Matthew Stafford at quarterback. Quarterback is single-handedly holding that team back. I've watched every game. Trust me, the Jets are being held back by their quarterback position. And I like Mike White. And I think he comes back and they'll do well. But Matthew Stafford would be a godsend for them. They'd be in the playoffs guaranteed. Patriots, playoffs. Even with that terrible offensive coordinator, who's not an offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia is a defensive coordinator. Even with that terrible offense, Stafford, playoffs. I mean, who is better A healthy Matthew Stafford. Who is better than a healthy Matthew Stafford? And yeah, Mayfield looked lethal with McVay's quick passing game. You're absolutely right. He really did. I was very impressed with the way he looked. I wasn't shocked because I know he has it in him, and I really like Baker. But, you know, it just goes to show you back what we were saying earlier. This is what happens when you run the damn ball. This is what happens when you run the damn ball. This team does not stop the run well. Ejiro Evero's defense is one of the best in the league against the pass. You look at the red zone. They're the number one red zone defense, and the Rams, I'm pretty sure, went undefeated in the red zone. Like, I don't think that they went 5 of 6. They went 5 of 6 against the number one red zone defense. So there you go. At the water cooler tomorrow, if that still exists for you. I know a lot of people work from home, and that's totally fine. But if the water cooler still exists for you, or even Twitter, if you get some numbnut that wants to say, look, the Rams, got to give them some respect. They won 51-14, but it was Denver. Tell me you don't watch football and tell me you don't know what's going on without telling me you don't watch football and telling me you don't know what's going on. Because the Denver Broncos have had one of the best red zone. They've had the best red zone defense in the NFL. Their defense is the reason why they're in almost every game, despite the fact they lose almost every single game. Their defense is great. The Rams they actually had a great game plan. Sean McVay mixed up his pitches. They didn't call the same shit. They ran the ball. They had success. They kept going with the thing that they had success with. That was why. I mean, these numbers. Like, the Rams didn't have 500 yards of offense. But do you know what they did? They dictated the clock and they dictated the tempo of their offense. They didn't let the defense dictate. They dominated the time of possession, 36-35 to 23-25. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, Baker, 24 of 28 for 230 yards passing, 8.2 yards per pass, 158 yards on the ground. In total, the Rams only averaged 4.4 yards per carry. But Cam Akers averaged 5.1. He had 23 carries for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns. And what that did is now you're running the ball like crazy. Because now you ran it 36 times for 158 yards and 3 touchdowns. When you run it 36 times, the defense kind of has to respect that, right? So then when they have to respect that, and all of a sudden now play action opens up. Because the problem is last week on Monday Night Football, play action didn't open up because they didn't run the damn ball. Cam Akers was averaging 5.4 yards per carry, 12 carries, but I might add, and they abandoned the run, but they're still running play action. They got no time to throw because the defense doesn't buy it. Guys, today is exactly what you needed to see. It wasn't just a player growth thing. It wasn't just a team. It was Sean McVay. Sean McVay felt a little different today. Like, this was the most complete win that they've had maybe in Sean McVay's coaching career. I know it sounds crazy, right? They won the Super Bowl. They won the FC. But think about it, though. How many times did you find yourself sitting there watching the Rams and you're like, man, we're winning this game by 10, but I feel like we should be winning this game by 30. Well, in steps the Christmas game where, oh my God, I feel like we should be winning by like almost 50. And sure enough, they're winning 51-14. This was the best win and the most consistent win and the best use of complementary football since the game I was at in 2017. The Rams beat the Giants 51-17 on the road, cross country at MetLife Stadium. Complementary football is how you win football games. You can win a game anyway. If you stay in it with your defense and the offense has one good drive at the end, there you go. Look at the Steelers. Did anyone see that Steelers-Raiders game? I don't know why in -7-degree weather no one was running the football. I mean, Josh McDaniels at this point should write the book on how to lose leads, how to lose games in the last second, because, God, they had every opportunity to win that game. But the Steelers defense gave him a chance. And it just took that one drive at the end of the game. Kenny Pickett throws that touchdown to Pickens, and there you go. They didn't have to have multiple great drives. That's how they won. But the most efficient way and the most likely to win a game is playing complementary football on all three phases: offense, defense, special teams. Sure, there was no punting today. I'm not going to complain by that. I don't think Riley Dixon's going to complain. He's been punting enough. His leg's probably tired. But Matt Gay steps up. He hits multiple 50-plus yard field goals. Special teams gave up maybe. There was a little bit of a return. They gave up a pretty decent return. But come on. Special teams was good. You look at the offense. The offense was good. Maintained tempo. But also at the same time ran clock, dominated the time of possession by 13 minutes. And then you look at the defense, and the defense did a great job. They only gave up 14 points. And let's be honest here. I mean, there was one point where I didn't even realize Denver had a first down because it didn't feel like they did. And the defense generated points. Defense had turnovers. You had Bobby Wagner coming away with interception, a sack. You had Jacoby Durant coming down with 2 interceptions. One he took to the house. The sacks in this game. I mean, that's the thing. It all came together. No Donald, right? You didn't have Donald. You didn't have Stafford on the offense. You didn't have Cooper Kupp. And who cares? They got it done. They got it done with who they had on their team. Wagner with the sack. Laurel Murchison had 2. Hoyt had 1.5. Floyd had 1. Jonah Williams had a half a sack. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And that doesn't even account for quarterback hits. The Rams hit Russell Wilson 12 times. 2 for Bobby Wagner, 2 for Laurel Murchison, 2 for Hoyt, 3 for Jonah Williams, 3 for Leonard Floyd. Jonah Williams, you don't think he knows how important this game was for him? I mean, these are games the Rams are going to go back. They're going to have these internal discussions, and they're going to be like, man, we want Greg Gaines back. We want, Ashawn Robinson back. We want to pay them, but can we? Can we afford to? Is Jonah Williams enough? Is Bobby Brown enough? Because Marquise Copeland was out, and they love him. He's been great for them. So all of a sudden, you look at this team has a lot of depth in the interior for a defensive line. The offensive line played well. Those are guys next year that don't have to necessarily start. You know, this is a makeshift offensive line, but now you're finding, hey, if Ty Nsekhe wants to hang around for next year, I wouldn't mind him as the backup left tackle. You know, wouldn't mind at all if Nsekhe is the backup left tackle. Wouldn't mind. Definitely would want to bring back Ode Abushi. Love the way he's played. Matt Skura. These are depth guys for next year. They don't have to start next year, but you're finding out these guys can play. And they can play together as a unit. So this is a really good game. At the end of the year, you build off this. This isn't just a feel-good game. This is a game where you can start evaluating. You can start making decisions off of games like this. It doesn't have to be just this game. But we don't know. I mean, let's be honest here. We don't know what they're seeing in camp. We don't know what they're seeing in practice. Because it's not just about games like this, but games like this do add to the practice, resume. So, I mean, I'm excited. I saw some Daniel Hardy in there. You see Ernest Brown the fourth. I mean, he's a guy they just drafted not long ago out of Northwestern. He had a couple. They don't have pressures yet, but he had a couple pressures, I assure you. 3 batted passes by Jalen Ramsey, also a pick, forgot to mention. And what was I going to say? Oh, Jacoby Durant had 2. Wagner had a pass breakup. I mean, it was a good day at the office for the Rams. Higbee, 9 catches for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Higbee came back to life. Hopkins, 3 catches for 57 yards. They got Akers involved in the passing game. Kyron had a pass. Malcolm Brown had a pass. They got Powell involved. Atwell, I would have liked to see more. But again, what was the game plan of the Broncos? They didn't want Atwell and Van Jefferson to beat them. So the Rams took advantage with the tight ends. They beat them over the head with the tight ends. So, look, these games are they matter. And they're going to look at the tape and they're going to be like, all right, we got to get Bryson Hopkins involved more now down at the end of this season. You got 2 more games. Let's see what, put more pressure on him. Give him more opportunities. You got to see. Do you need to draft a tight end next year? Do you have to draft a running back? I will say, Kyron Williams, Cam Akers, I like the tandem. If that is the case next year, but I need to see this consistently out of Cam. If he continues to do this, I'll be back on that train. I'm giving him props. He had a great game. Great game. I was thinking about it. He probably had the best game of any running back this week. If I'm being honest. Definitely fantasy-wise. Didn't he have like 37 points? Definitely fantasy-wise, but he had one of the best games this week for a running back, if not the best. But he's got to keep this up. We saw a little bit of it, with the Packers game. They shut down the run. The Rams did, not the Packers. So let's see it. The Chargers run the ball. Let's see what Cam can do. The Seahawks run the ball. Let's see what Cam can do. Let's see what Kyron can do. I want to see both of those guys being used. And, now's the time. Is Cam a guy you're going to trade in the offseason? Is Cam a guy that you're going to buy into? You're running out of the time because I don't know if you're going to sign Cam Akers to a long-term deal, with that injury, the history anyway. But, yeah, it becomes very interesting all of a sudden. And I think, again, Sean McVay, the momentum there. Now you just had a really good game where you called just a great offense. Things were clicking on all cylinders, and they took away your 2 receivers. Think about that. They took away their 2 receivers, and the Rams still scored 51 points. Can you imagine if Aaron Donald played in this game? Cooper Kupp? Stafford? I don't know, man. This is definitely a game people are going to feel good about for a week. And then obviously, next week. But this is one you'll remember. They played on Christmas, and this is what we got out of it. I don't know how next year will be. It'll be very interesting. They did get flexed out of the Sunday Night Football slot like I told you guys they would. Not really shocking. I assume most of you knew it was going to happen. They got flexed out of Sunday Night Football in favor of the Ravens and Steelers game. The Steelers are somehow still in the playoff race, and the Ravens have clinched and is a division rivalry, so they did go with that. The Rams and Chargers will not be nationally televised. They will be the 4:25 slot, but they will not be the game of the week. That will go to the Packers and Vikings. For whatever reason, they're playing on CBS. I don't know. But yeah, so that's how that'll go. I don't know how it'll be next year. I don't know if they'll get the 5 primetime games. I don't. They're in LA. They're in that big market. I think they definitely could, but we'll see. I can't imagine people expect them to be as bad as they were this year. It was very injury driven, and I think they'll be back next year, but we'll see about the scheduling. Regardless, does it really matter? Does it really matter if they're not great on, if they don't get a bunch of primetime games? Not really. It'll be flexed. If they're good enough, they'll get them flexed and all that. It's not really a big deal. But yeah, I think if you're taking away anything from this game, you look at the way they ran the ball, the way they stopped the run, the way they rushed the passer. And man, the biggest thing about the Rams is when you do get that turnover, when you get that big shifting play and all the momentum is on your side, what do you do with it? Well, up until this game, the Rams that I know this year kick a field goal or punt it. not this team, back-to-back turnovers and back-to-back touchdowns. If you could turn a turnover into 6, you're doing things right. 5 of 6 in the red zone and turning turnovers and capping them off with points. Not just a field goal, but touchdowns. Man, a lot of good stuff today. And again, people will say, oh, it's Denver. Denver's not good. Yeah, Denver's defense is very good. And they just got punched in the mouth and just were outplayed. That's the nature of it. I mean, let's be real here. If you don't think Denver's defense is good, you're not paying attention. They were in the game. They just came off a win against the Cardinals. They lost by a touchdown to the Chiefs. They lost by 1 point to the Ravens. They lost to the Panthers. They lost by 6 points to the Raiders. They lost by 7 to the Titans. They lost by 4 to the Jaguars. They lost by 7 to the Jets. They lost by 3 to the Chargers. They lost by 3 to the Colts. They lost to the Raiders by 9. They lost to the 49ers they beat the 49ers by 1 point. They beat the Texans by 7. And they lost to Seattle by 1. Denver has literally been in every game, almost every game, and their defense has been unbelievable, considering the fact their offense is so pedestrian. Seahawks 17, Texans 9, 49ers 10, Raiders scored 32, Colts 12, Chargers 19, Jets 16, the Jaguars 17, Titans 17, Raiders 22, Panthers 23, Ravens 10, the Chiefs 34. I mean, that team might win the Super Bowl this year. The Cardinals 15, and the Rams 51. The Rams scored 51 on this defense, and no one else is even close to that. Next up, the Broncos have the Chiefs and the Chargers, so they will most definitely end up with a worse record than the Rams, which means they will have a higher pick, or Seattle will have a higher pick than the Detroit Lions. And by higher, I mean better pick, if that makes sense. So, man. That was fun. And you know, was it as exciting as the Baker debut against the Raiders? No, because the Baker debut against the Raiders was a 16-3 game that left you with a feeling of agony. And you honestly were contemplating why you were watching the game to begin with. And all of a sudden, okay, they score 17, they score 14, they take the lead, they win the game at the end, No, it's Snapple. Yeah, so they win the game at the end, and that was exciting, right? Because it was a high-low moment. That's the reason this game was just consistently high moments, right? Like the Rams were constantly doing positive things that I think it was a shock, honestly. I think a lot of the fan base probably didn't even get a chance to really enjoy it to the fullest because people were just in shock. What is happening? Not complaining, but what the hell is happening? Julio, thank you so much for donating. I appreciate you. Yeah, so yeah, I'm all right. All right, you said it. Winning cures everything. And I got to tell you, I don't think the Rams have won a game in all blue uniforms. And I thought that they were hideous. And then today, for whatever reason, they were playing well in them. They don't look as bad anymore. So, just saying. Oh, no worries. You can drop your message and I'll I'll do it. I'll share it. So Randy Gregory has some stuff off the field. I know that's happened before in his past. He seems like a hothead. I thought it was a little weird, if I'm being honest. Obviously, the team that I cover and was on the winning side, so I'm not going to complain. They won 51-14. But I thought it was funny. Jerry Jeudy caught a pass when they're down 44-14, and he was all going crazy. And I'm like, dude, you're down 44-14. I don't know why you're celebrating. And then Randy Gregory got a stop, and he was all like, yeah, and I was like, you're down by like 40 points, bro. Like, why are you, I don't know. But then apparently he fought after the game, for real, he was on something. Yeah, and then like, and then what was it? You just mentioned him, Randy Gregory. Apparently he punched Ibushi after the game. I don't know. I think it's just frustrations. You just got your ass beat. That's embarrassing. I just thought it was funny. I thought it was funny because I don't think it's not like I've never see it, but like that bad, 44-14, and Jerry Jeudy's all like, first down, baby. Like, or no, like, you can't guard me. You can't guard me. Like, they're not even trying to guard you. I mean, they got Darion Kendrick out there. But yeah. Good. I mean, I know he'll probably get kicked out for that or whatever. Ibushi will get in trouble, but whatever. They're probably both getting suspended if they threw punches after the game. Probably. If it's big enough, they'll both get suspended. He really was, Nolan. Like I said, I mean, I've seen it before, but I don't know if I've seen a 44-14 beatdown where a guy on the opposite team is like trying to almost taunt the other team. That's one where you just say scoreboard and you leave that alone. Exactly. You just say scoreboard, man. Like, I had that in baseball. A guy hit a home run off a team that I was on years ago, and when he was trotting the bases, he was down 17-1, and he was like, "You wish you could hit like me." And I was just like, "Scoreboard, bro." He wanted, I'm not kidding. He wanted to stop his strut and come over and but I'm like, dude, you hit a home run, you're down 17-1, like, move on. Cool, you hit a home run. I didn't hit a home run. I'm on the winning team. I'll take winning any day. So yeah, the Broncos are absolutely imploding. It sucks to see. I have friends of the show on that team, Calvin Anderson, Dalton Reisner. Actually, part of them were on the thing today with the whole sideline drama. But yeah, I missed that mean streak that Harvey Dahl had. Remember when Mike Mitchell pushed Sam Bradford out of bounds, tore his ACL, and then celebrated, and Harvey Dahl like picked him up and was about to body slam him? I miss that mean streak. I feel like Brian Allen has that, though. Like, I feel like Brian Allen is a nasty dude when he's playing football. You know what I mean? Like, he seems like he gets in guys' face. He's not on the level of Harvey Dahl. Maybe that's just because Harvey Dahl has that beard or had that beard. I don't know, man. When you have a beard and you're in a helmet, you got the chin strap, the beard's covering your entire face. I don't know, man. There's just something about that, the mean streak, but you need the facial hair. Like, you need the beard with the mean streak. So I don't know. You gotta love the offensive linemen that stand up for their players, stand up for their teammates, quarterback, etc. Yeah, I loved Harvey Dahl. I'll never forget when he said the F-bomb in the mic, because the mic on the ref, he'll toggle it. So he put the mic on and he was about to say holding on number 63, and I don't even know if Harvey Dahl was 63. He might have been like 68 or something. But Harvey Dahl said, "That's effing bullshit." Like, it was funny because you could hear it right through the thing. And it obviously went right on the broadcast. But no, I like that mean streak, because you should be sticking up for your quarterback. You should be sticking up for your teammates. If a guy gets hit and you don't like it, you're an offensive lineman. Go ahead and just drill the guy into the ground. I don't care. I'll take the penalty. You got to show them they can't do that. you know? You're not going to hit my running back in the head. Also, shout out to Cam Akers. He got pushed out of bounds after scoring the touchdown. This is a little thing. It's not really a football thing, but it's something that I notice, and I don't hold it against people when they don't do it, but I always watch it, and I'm sure you're like me. Cam Akers scores the touchdown, gets shoved out of bounds, knocks over the cameraman, and then while he's knocking him over, he's trying to make sure he doesn't fall, which I never see. And then he does fall. They both fall. He gets up and immediately, first thing, not to celebrate the touchdown, not to go with his teammates, but to help the cameraman up. It's a little thing where it's not analysis. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know because you watched it. But if you're like me, I always notice stuff like that. And it doesn't go a long way because it's not like, oh, now Cam Akers is going to win MVP. But it's nice to see. Like, it shows, like, you know, in the heat of the moment, even though you're a different guy, when you step on that gridiron, like, typically the guys that help people up are probably good people off the field. Probably, right? But I don't know. It's not a huge deal, but I thought it was cool that, you know, he lifted him up. And it's a little thing, but it goes further than you would think. Yes, it does. But, I mean... the MVP 2 times in a row. Yeah, it does. I once saw, I was at the Senior Bowl, and I don't know why they had it, but they had like a guardrail at Lad Peebles Stadium in Mobile. And there was this prospect, Alan Lazard. And Lazard caught a pass. It was like over his head. And I'll never forget it. Like, he caught it, got 2 feet in the end zone, and then it's just in practice, and then he slid into the guardrail, and I heard the pads hit the guardrail, and he slid at full speed. I'm like, oh my God. Now imagine that guy's running full speed and just knocks you over. I mean, he made that guardrail pay. Like, he bent the guardrail. It's like, now imagine being the dude. Crazy. Those nasty OL channeling the inner Viking. Yeah, I love that. I really do. By the way, shout out to the Vikings fans. I gotta say, watching the whiteout game was so cool. So cool. One of the best fan bases in all of sports, the Minnesota Vikings. For real. I mean, the whiteout was so cool. If you guys didn't see it, they had everybody in the audience wearing white jerseys, white shirts, whatever. They whited out the logo, the Vikings logo. They had white end zones. It was like the coolest thing. I don't know why. I loved it. I love presentation, and I just love that, like, Minnesota just adopts that, like, the Viking theme is just so baller. And that stadium's the second best in the league behind only SoFi. Like, US Bank is phenomenal. I want to go there someday. Like, if the Rams play the Vikings there, I definitely want to be there because that stadium looks unbelievable. The fan base looks insane, and they haven't won anything. So those fans are like freaking diehards to the core. Part of that, that's kind of why, part of me kind of wants them to win it all. Also, I really like KOC. I think he's one of the best coaches already. But it's just, I don't know, man. That Viking, like, theme is just so badass. And I see people on Twitter that were, like, shitting on the skull chants. That is one of the coolest things in all of sports. I don't know why you're shitting on that. It's theme-based. It's not saying who day or who dat. Like, it's actually a theme. The Viking theme. It's perfect. Like, I don't know. That's my thoughts. I just had to throw it out there. We haven't been live in a while. It's original. Exactly, Nolan. Alex, I think I said the same exact thing, almost word for word. And I just saw your comment. I don't know, man. I just... I just really respect the Vikings. I respect their fans. I like Cousins too. I sit there and I say to myself, I wish Cousins was better. I say the same thing about Derek Carr. I tweeted it the other day. I'm like, Derek Carr is a better person than I think he is a quarterback. And that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback, but I just don't think he's ever winning a Super Bowl. Maybe he does. And if he does, I'll eat crow. But I don't know. It's like that tier of guys, man. I don't know if they're Super Bowl caliber. Unless you had the perfect offense for them. But I mean, Derek Carr. I understand it's cold, but you got Waller back. You got Devontae Adams. You got the leading rusher in the league in Josh Jacobs. You got Hunter Renfrow back. You got Mac Hollins balling out. And how many points you put up? I'm sorry. I just that's where I draw the line, you know? And Cousins has Thielen, who's one of the best route runners in all of football. He has Justin Jefferson, who's one of the best receivers in all of football. He's got Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in all of football. He's got TJ Hawkinson, one of the best tight ends in all of football. He's got a damn good offensive line. I don't know. I mean, I like him, but yeah, and I think both of those slogans are terrible. I mean, you guys know my thoughts. I don't really love Rams House that much. Like, I don't love the chant. Like, I don't know. But I don't feel like they need a chant. I don't feel like the Rams need a chant. Like, Mob Squad, I thought was the best. I've been on record, so this is not anything new. I've been on record saying Mob Squad was the best. But anything the Rams do is better than Who Dey, Who Dat. I don't know. There's other ones too out there that I'm sure. Oh, remember when the Patriots, before they beat the Rams in the Super Bowl the second time? I know I had to bring it up. The Patriots said, "Do your job." Like, they used to chant that. Like, Tom Brady kept saying, like, "We're still here," and "Do your job." And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, Boston, like, you know, like the Red Sox, they had this hashtag "do damage." What the hell does that mean? Do damage? Do damage, do damage. Why? You're Beantown. You couldn't have thought, you play with the Green Monster. You couldn't have thought of anything better than do damage? It's just like, do your job, do damage. Like, people got to come up with better, taglines, man. I love this so much. I feel this. This has happened to me before, and I ended up on the right end of it. I'll never forget. I had a Giants fan. I won't name him. We're not friends anymore. Not because of this, but other things. And the Rams beat the Giants 51-17. I was at the game. And he told me I was wasting my time going to a pouring rain game where it didn't matter if Eli played or Geno Smith played or Sam Darnold found a way to get out of USC and suited up for that game. They were going to take down the Rams. And that didn't happen because they lost 51-17. And if you remember, I believe they started off that game winning. I think they threw a touchdown to Tavares King. I think they did. I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong, but I think that is what happened. I'm going to check it out actually right now, because why say I think when I can know? 2017 Rams Giants 51-17. And okay. Tyler Higbee was the first touchdown of the game. 8-yard pass from Jared Goff, Greg Zuerlein, extra point. And then Tavares King. How about that? I remembered. I mean, it was 2017. It's not like a decade ago, but Tavares King caught the touchdown. And then the Rams kicked a field goal. And then the Rams had a 52-yard touchdown on 3rd and 33. Jared Goff to Robert Woods, who hopefully will be a Ram again. Hopefully. Then Sammy Watkins caught a 67-yard bomb from Goff. And they were up 24-7. Aldrick Rosas hit a field goal, so they were 24-10. Zuerlein hit a field goal. So, guys, this 51-17 game, this Rams team today outplayed them going into the half. Rams were up 27-10 in this game, and in today's game it was 31-6. And then Gurley had a 1-yard run, 34-10. Then Woods had a 4-yard touchdown, 41-10. Gurley had a 4-yard run, 48-10. Evan Ingram caught a 10-yard pass from Eli Manning, 48-17. And then Zerline kicked a field goal, 51-17. Jared Goff, 14 of 22, 311 yards and 4 touchdowns in the pouring rain. That was a cold day. It was absolutely pouring. That game was special, man. I love that game. I don't know, man. I love watching teams score 50 plus points. Also, the Giants were 1-7. They were not a good football team that year. I think it was Eli's last. No, that wasn't his last year. No, it was a few years after that. But one thing I distinctively remember is in the audience, everyone in the audience, not everybody, but like there were a lot of Giants fans that had these custom Darnold jerseys. And it's just so funny because he ended up playing at MetLife, but for the Jets. But yeah, there were a lot of Giants fans that wanted him. A lot of Giants fans wanted him. They won't tell you that now because then, whatever. But I don't know. Sam Darnold didn't look that bad this week. Man, this really is the best stuff on earth. At me if you don't agree. So, always down for a W on Russ. I feel like they destroy Russ. Let's go. Let's get horny. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I feel like they always trash Russ. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Not this time, but you're not. That's a pretty decent combination there. Guys, be sure to hit the thumbs up. We have 68 people, but we have 202 people. We're over 1,000 views in under an hour. I mean, I know we're over an hour now, but we're clearly over it before. So appreciate you guys there. Just be sure to hit that thumbs up, also known as the like button. Pushes this out. YouTube I have to get back in the algorithm. I haven't put out that much content. YouTube isn't going to recommend me as much, so I got to get back to pushing out some content. Probably get some YouTube shorts going, and make this a more open channel. Talk more about the NFL draft. Talk more about the NFL. Talk more about sports. Have more JE lives. The whole thing that I've been talking about doing, but still haven't done that. So yeah, that has to be the plan. Russ was really cooking. Yeah. Talk about dangerous. Oh yeah. Knives Out 2 is the best movie of the year. Bar none. So if you haven't seen it, go see Rian Johnson's movie of the year, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. It is fantastic. I loved it. It's maybe one of my favorite movies. I've seen it twice already. I wish I saw it in theaters. It wasn't around here for whatever reason. Fantastic movie. Knives Out 2. Yeah. I'm getting to all of them. So I plan on I'm going to try to do profiles with everyone. I'm going to do breakdowns for players that get drafted or players that are very likely to get drafted by said team. But I'm going to be doing a lot of profiles. So, not really, because I feel like I'd be cheating since I don't have many. I want to get you guys the best list possible. We'll do a mock draft in the next couple weeks because I'll have an idea. Is that official? Is it officially coming to YouTube TV? I heard that was the rumor, but is that now official? Okay. It is. Yeah, I guess it is. I didn't know it was official. Cool. I mean, I don't know if that'll help me at all. Maybe it does. Maybe it actually hurts me. Maybe they start maybe they start clamping down on my NFL stuff. I don't know. In order to get it, you would have to subscribe to YouTube TV. Well, I think anything is a win if it's getting away from DirecTV. I think it's absolute bullshit. I have Spectrum. I shouldn't have to get that stupid dish in order to get NFL, like the NFL Sunday ticket. I think it's dumb. I don't. I think Odell's done. I think he's done for this year. I think he's looking at next year. I think he partially kind of knew he wasn't coming back this year, but, he wanted to see maybe if a deal was out there that made sense. No, I think he's definitely looking at it next year. It starts soon. I could actually get you the exact date. It should be in my dashboard. So, yeah, I'm going to be putting out a lot of shorts because, yeah, there's revenue sharing for that. Can't wait for that. Also can't wait. I don't know if anyone's into Fall Out Boy, but they just, for first time in a long time, they posted a teaser, and it sounded kind of heavy. If anyone's into pop punk, punk rock, pop I don't even know, like just pop at this point. But yeah, they're one of my favorite bands, and I saw the teaser today, and it sounded pretty heavy for them. So I was a little excited by that. I'm more into hard rock, metal, things like that. So when I saw that, I got a little excited. I'm looking for it, Alex. I'm not seeing it. It used to have a banner. It was telling you when they were doing it, and now I don't see. I think it was February. Let's see here. You just asked about, when is YouTube Shorts monetized? Oh, okay, mid-January. Oh, no. February 1st. Cool. You have to sign the appropriate agreement beforehand. But yeah, February 1st is when the YouTube Short monetization 45% revenue split starts. It's better than no revenue split. He could. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know how much football shape he's in, but there's a chance he could come back. I want him to be. I am a little concerned about the blood clots, but I'm a big fan of his game. He knows that. He actually just followed me the other day on Twitter. Said I do a good job. So, shout out to Alaric there. Really appreciate that. But I want him to be. I'm just, I'm a little worried about the blood clots, and I'm hoping, it's not a huge thing and more precautionary holding him out, and he'll be back next year because I think they have something in the kid. I really believe that. I mean, I you know me, I love Big Ten offensive linemen. Scratch that. I love Big Ten blockers. I feel like they just got the mean streak that I look for. And so, you look at Alaric, you look at George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant. You talk about, guys like Rob Havenstein and David Edwards, Logan Bruss, I'm excited about, just Big Ten guys that come to mind that just, Brandon Scherf, they make blocking like that is their game. And I like that. I mean, maybe not as much with Fant, but Kittle loves to block just as much as he loves to catch touchdowns. So, yeah, but who was quiet and who made a huge play, might have even, you could argue, helped them win the game? T.Y. freaking Hilton. Man, That guy literally just stepped out of retirement, went on a field, ran straight down the field, blew by everybody, and caught like a bomb from Dak. T.Y. Hilton, man. That guy... Gotta respect him. Jackson has to start. I just don't know if they're going to make him the left tackle. I could see them kicking him in at guard, but I love the guy. As long as his health checks out, I want Jackson for sure. I liked Bullet Train. Yeah, I saw it in theaters. I didn't love it, but I did like it. And Brad Pitt, I just feel like is very likable. So, right now, Michael, I'm having conflicting thoughts. I kind of felt like you got to go running back at some point in the draft, and maybe you still do, like towards the end, but maybe not as high as I initially thought. If Cam Akers continues this, and then you got Kyron Williams, and they do really like. I totally forgot his name. But they really like the UDFA, whose name is totally Ronnie Rivers. So I think it's one of those things where, if they like all three guys in the building, maybe they go UDFA or they go with a guy in the 7th round. But then you look at tight end. And I was saying on the podcast, Tyler Higbee's not cutting it. He's got to step up. And he stepped up. He had a huge game. Now it's giving me some conflicting thoughts a little bit on Higbee. They're getting Bryson involved. They use more 2 tight end sets. So, maybe they move on and just go with those 2 and they draft a guy late. But maybe they don't need a top tight end. And then so you got running back and tight end out of the way. You got quarterback out of the way. They don't need another wide receiver. If anything, they're going to move on from a wide receiver they have because of big money like Allen Robinson. But honestly, go back and watch the Panthers game. Allen Robinson was moving around as good as I've ever seen him. And that's the thing that's so disheartening, is that if he doesn't get that foot injury, this is a huge opportunity for him to take over. So do the Rams move on from the Allen Robinson experiment and just bring in, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, maybe even OBJ, or do they stick with it? That remains to be seen. But I could see them moving on from him. But wide receiver feels set. I don't feel like they're going to draft anybody. If they do, it'll be late. Tight end feels fine, late. Then offensive line. You look at left tackle. You got Nsekhe, I think is going to be a good backup. You got Alaric Jackson. You got Noteboom, who I think they might move on from because of the injuries. You can't mess with an Achilles heel. You just can't. Look at how long it's taken Cam Akers to get back to where he was. And we don't even know if he's there. He had a really good day, but we need to see more consistency. But he could be there. And it took him a while to get there. So left tackle, not as easy, right? So I am concerned there. You have Alaric, you have Nsekhe, you have Noteboom. Do you go out and get a left tackle? I mentioned Taylor Lewan on Believe in Rams, and Cam Lynch, my guy, was not a big fan of Taylor Lewan. He had a past experience with him. His teammates did anyway in practice. And, he just doesn't like the guy. I don't know how I feel. Lewan has a hard time staying healthy as well. I think you absolutely should be concerned about Noteboom. If I'm being real, you should, because the injuries are real. But to answer your question, Michael, we're at offensive line. I think left tackle, maybe you draft somebody there. Left guard, do you bring back Edwards? You got Edwards, you got, Shelton, who's also, a center. You got, what's his face? Skura, Abushi, Ankrum. I mean, if they bring all those guys back, okay. But do you draft another guy? You got Logan Bruss as well, but he missed all of this year, so it's not like he's getting better. He's having a rehab. He's not able to really develop. Then you have Havenstein at right tackle. So when I hear all the time, oh, well, they should just draft all offensive line, I don't know if that's necessarily true. But you have to decide, because Brian Allen has an injury concern. He has a hard time staying healthy, and you have to decide, are you going to move on with him or without him? Our Curry's there. Like I said, Nsekhe's going to be, 37, 38. He's a backup, but he's playing well. So, he gives you some added depth there. I think they draft probably 2 offensive linemen. I don't think they have to take one the second and third. I think they could look late. I mean, they're not in a dire need. They're in a dire need to stay healthy, get healthy, and stay healthy. And so if they decide, look, Nopum's not going to cut it, they trade him away, they get a pick, okay. They decide, look, Brian Allen can't stay healthy, we're going to make Shelton the center, we're going to go out and get a center, okay. But I think they just need to get healthy. I think the offensive line can get back to, where it was, maybe not in the level of, the Whitworth, Corbett offensive line, but good enough where it's not an issue. So far, I mean, maybe a late running back, tight end, maybe wide receiver. I don't really see it, but then offensive line, I could see them getting some mid-round stuff there. Maybe a second guy if you like a guy in the second round to be a starter. Then you look at the interior defensive line. To be honest with you, I don't see why they need to go out and get anybody there. Ashawn and Greg are free agents. I think one of them will be back, if not both of them. There's definitely a possibility, but if not, got Bobby Brown, 4th round pick. You got Marquise Copeland, UDFA, who you really like. You got Jonah Williams, UDFA, you really like. The way Murchison was playing today. You got Donald. So maybe you go out and get another defensive lineman in the draft, but it doesn't have to be too early. And then you look at linebackers, and you got Ernest Jones with Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner turned himself into a core piece on this defense. I mean, he is phenomenal. Like, he absolutely will be an all-pro. Like, I would be shocked if he's not an all-pro. He's had a monster season, and he's been everything that the Rams could have asked for, and he's on a multi-year deal. And you have Ernest Jones. So maybe you bring in a linebacker to situationally help in coverage and things like that. A guy like the guy the Lions got, Malcolm Rodriguez. There are some guys that are out there that you could look at, but this is kind of where I'm looking at it. So really the secondary and really the safeties, I think, is where maybe you draft some guys. They might want to go best available in this draft. And to get more picks, since they're going to be higher in the second round, I think they should consider trading down. Try to acquire a 4th round pick that you needlessly trade away for Sony Michel. That's where I would go. Right now, I'd say they're probably best available. I don't have a particular position. Edge, I would probably say, is my most desired position. Because as much as I like Hoyt, I'm not convinced that they're going to keep Floyd. That is a very hefty deal now. It's going to become a $20 million annual salary for him. And that's a big deal. And he's having a great end to this year. But can you justify, spending $20 million on Leonard Floyd when he's making more than Hassan Reddick on the Eagles? It's one thing you're going to have to decide. I still wouldn't rule out a trade. I still think there's a chance that, they look next year and they're like, hey, Brian Burns isn't going to come back to you guys. We're going to get Brian Burns. Here's picks, wouldn't rule that out, but I just don't think it's, I don't think it's as simple as saying you get this position in the second and this position in the third, because the team, we don't know how the structure is going to be. And it really depends on who is on the roster, after the free agency, because this roster could be so different. We don't know how they're going to react, but I don't think that they're going to sell house. I don't think they're just going to give away everybody. I don't think they're done with everybody. But we don't know how it's going to go. Maybe they go in that direction. Maybe they look at this was a failure of a season, unacceptable. We have plenty of talent. Injuries don't matter. Who cares about the injuries? We're better than this. And then they get rid of half their coaching staff. They get rid of all their players. Like, we don't know how they're going to react. But I have an idea how they're going to react, and I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a team that, they are bummed out, but they do know the injuries had to play, a factor in it. And, they're excited for next year with the guys that they have, the guys that they learned that they have. the key assets that they, developed throughout the course of the year, and then you're able now to kind of pinpoint things that maybe in the past you win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I could get an upgrade at safety, but we won the Super Bowl, so I feel like maybe I don't have to. Those are the ones now, if you go 7-10 or 6-11 or 5-12, now those are the decisions that you can make. There's no feeling guilty. You didn't win the Super Bowl this year. You can make moves. Don't go crazy, but you can make moves. So that's what I'll say about that. But yeah, I'm not really sure what direction I would go in right now. As I learn the class, as I get more familiar with the class, I'll be able to tell you. Another thing, keep this in mind. This is very important for anybody that's trying to get into the draft, anybody that's doing mock drafts. Just remember this thing. You can't just always go by position, because you might feel like, man, I want a second round left tackle. Well, you have to keep in mind that drafts are different. So 2021's draft could have had great tackle class, right? 2022's could have had a solid. 2023's could be the worst tackle class in the history of tackle classes. You can't just justify getting a tackle because you feel like you want one. You got to be careful with that. You can't be like, well, it's a down year, but he's good enough. Because the good enough, you're letting a Pro Bowl safety off the board. You're letting a Pro Bowl edge off the board. You're letting a future Pro Bowl quarterback off the board. You're letting the guy that's going to knock you out of the playoffs with his game-winning catch off the board, because you have to go and get your position. It's not as simple as that. It's not. There are seasons, and there are draft seasons where you watch the tape and you're like, holy shit, I hate to be a dick, but this position group is just not good this year. The best guy is about a third, fourth rounder. And now I have to, because of, supply and demand, I have to draft him in the second, you're telling me. No. I'm not, spending extra capital. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's not far off. It's not far off. This is what happens. When teams stray away from their draft board, they stray away from best available. They stray away from getting talent, getting consistent football players, guys they know will at least produce at the NFL level, may not be superstars, but at least know they will produce. But they let need trump everything. They go out and they're like, you know what? We know it's a down year for linebackers, but we need a linebacker. Not that they love the linebacker that they're getting, but they need a linebacker. So they just get any old linebacker. They get the top guy on their board. Doesn't matter that he's not top on their board. So they have the 5 best players available still on their board. They pass up on all 5 of those guys. They all end up being good players. 3 out of the 5 or 2 out of the 5 are in the Pro Bowl, and all pros. This is what happens. So you got to be careful. You can't just go by what you think is a need. You have to base things on how you see the draft. If you watch all this tape on all these guys at quarterback and you have a quarterback need, but you're like, man, I wouldn't draft any of these guys until the 4th round. I hate to break it to you, but a 4th round quarterback is not filling your need. Dak Prescott's don't happen every season. That does not happen. It's very rare that a Dak Prescott is found in the middle rounds that can come in and right away start. It's just not likely. And you can't bank off that. So, that's when you have to start looking outside. You have to, okay, well, maybe next year I probably should remember, hey, if I have a need this big, I'll address it in the offseason, in free agency. If it's not in free agency, I look at a trade. You can't just overcompensate for the fact that, like, I have a need, I'm just going to throw whatever. I mean, essentially that's like, I really, really, really need a house. Really need a house. And there are 3 houses that my guide essentially is showing me. There's a house down by the river and it's a van. There's, like a regular house, and then there's an apartment. And the house, down by the river, the van, is essentially available right away. But if you wait and you just stay in a hotel for like a week, 2 weeks, 3, whatever, you can get the house. Because the house, whatever, right? Like the house, it's going to take 3-4 weeks to work. All right. Then you have the apartment. The apartment, you don't have to wait, but you don't own the apartment. The apartment is rent. So these are to own. This is rent. But you want the house immediately, so you choose the house/van down by the river. That's what you choose. And let me tell you, can you live with it? Yes. Is the offensive tackle an offensive tackle? Yes. Is he a competent human being that can play the position, physically play the position, be in the position? Yes. But can he succeed? No. Does he bring you any sort of perks? No. Does the house, the van down by the river, does that bring you any perk besides the fact that you got it earlier? It doesn't. So it's like the same thing. You're like, well, I have a need so bad that I want to get this over with. That's a pet peeve of mine. And I see it a lot in the mock drafts too. Like I'll have people like, hey, what do you think about this mock draft? And I'm like, I like it, but like you reached in the second round because you wanted this position so bad when I could have shown you some value in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So I don't know, man. I'm just saying, I mean, what do I know, right? I'm not an NFL scout. I get told all the time that I'm not an NFL coach, but that's just my thoughts since I was asked. And yeah, you guys are funny, man. I miss doing these. I need to do them way more often. I totally forgot about the Sunday Night Football game. How we looking? Trying to see. Man, the ESPN app today is just terrible. I don't know what's going on. Oh, shocker. The Buccaneers are just letting the Trace McSorley Cardinals just stay in it, huh? Man, it's too bad the Rams don't have the Buccaneers division. They'd be in the playoffs. They've won 5 games with a first place schedule and not playing in the worst division in sport. It was. It's a pillow fight. Never mind its cheeks. That's funny. Oh, man. All right, guys. I'm going to head on out of here. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe if you haven't already. Obviously it's been a lot of fun. Done it for about an hour and a half. So definitely want to keep this up, put some more videos out there, because I know not everybody can watch a full live stream, and I'm the man of the people, or a man of the people. Not the man, but a man of the people. So I will make sure that I'll get those shorter, whether it's a YouTube short or a 10-minute video. I know people like the 10-minute videos. I know people like list videos. So we will work on getting those out as well. If you have any questions or anything, you can always DM me at JK Bogan. Be sure to follow me also on Instagram. That's actually starting to be pretty decent. I made one video. Now it's starting to kind of take off a little bit. That's cool. So we hit 100 likes. Appreciate you guys. I will be back, let's say tomorrow. Let's aim for tomorrow, right? In some capacity. And you guys take care. Again, Merry Christmas, everybody. The Rams won the game. And they won 51 to 14. Later, folks.